I think one of the biggest headlines for dance music in the last 12 months has been the enormous amount of consolidation that's started to go on. A lot of companies are getting bought and put together, and one of the men with the biggest purses and done the most shopping is here with us today. So Shelly Finkel, welcome. Tell us a little bit about what the Silliman setup is and what your role in it is.
I don't know. It's a work in progress. For the people who don't know, originally in the late 90s, Bob Silliman, who is the CEO of the company, formed, just everyone went dark, a company, and he had a big radio group in it, and it was called SFX Broadcasting. He sold that to Clear Channel, and then he decided to put together all of the major promoters of live entertainment in the world. And the first year in business, he sold 65 million tickets and 25,000 events. But in that era, which was 13, 14 years ago, no one knew about the internet. So of the 65,000 tickets that were sold, the names of those people that were gotten was 0. That has changed totally. And we feel that there is a real opportunity to serve the fans in many ways. From the live, where shows that have been going for 20 years in Europe have not come to the US yet, such as the first time this past year, Sensation, which will be coming back, Mysteryland, Tomorrowland, Mayday, Q-Dance, all things that the people in North and South America have not experienced yet through the work of ID+T and several other promoters and ourselves will be. So going back to the consolidation, originally you build a business and you grow it and you hope to grow it forever. But if someone comes in and makes an offer that's hard to refuse, you do it. And then it was sold to Clear Channel, and Clear Channel spun off the company, and everyone knows it today as Live Nation, which is still the largest promoter in the world. And we're looking to have experiences for everyone the 360 days a year that they're not buying that ticket or going to the event, and that is a big part of our strategy.
So Bob Silliman was on the cover of Billboard famously in September with holding a glitter ball with like $1 billion, and he just decided to go shopping. It was like supermarket sweep, and everyone seems to have got the Shelly Finkel call. So just for the audience, for those that don't know, just tell us what you bought.
Well, I want to know who I missed. No. Right.
what you bought, and is there any money left?
There's plenty of money left.
Save something. Somebody didn't get paid enough. So you bought ID+T. You
Yes.
just touched on that. Is that just for America, or is that?
No, worldwide. What our basic strategy is to acquire certain major brands and to acquire promoters in different parts of the world which can expand these brands into those markets that they probably never would have got to do otherwise. So we have someone we just bought in South America, probably a dozen different companies in the United States. We bought the largest promoter in Germany just. We bought probably the largest in Australia. And we hope to be able to not only bring new brands, but also young artists, be able to give them the opportunity to play at all of our venues, clubs, and festivals to get the exposure that they probably wouldn't have gotten otherwise.
Okay. I think some of the other ones that maybe people don't know, you bought into the, in Miami, didn't you? You bought the two kind of rival club owners?
No, just the management company of Live and Story. We didn't do anyone else.
Didn't do the open group, right? And also Beatport. Tell us a bit about your thoughts about Beatport, because that's kind of out the box. That's not really something you've done before.
Yes, but we feel that today's fans are worldwide. When I was promoting, although it's very interesting, I want to segue for a second, and that is viral has been around forever. People don't realize that. I did a concert in 1973. It was called Watkins Glen. It was bigger than Woodstock. We had 600,000 people. And yet, people came from all over the United States, from Europe, South America, and we didn't have the internet then. Word of mouth spread. There was a couple of articles, but nothing big. We didn't have a major advertising campaign. But today it's a lot easier, obviously, with the internet and the different social media and the access to the fans and the interaction with them worldwide. We hope with Beatport, we're going to give a lot more access to the fans of DJs worldwide and also be able to grow it from there.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing about Beatport, that's an awful lot of people go on Beatport's site. I mean, discover music there. But I think one of their biggest issues is they've got this huge audience, but a lot of people never leave the store and never make a purchase.
Right.
How do you think, have you got any thoughts about how you might go about changing that?
I don't know if that's the real future idea. The idea is to bring more people to the site, a lot more of young fans who are not on the site regularly, and make them aware of many DJs that don't get discovered otherwise. And that's one of my biggest goals, is to broaden the fan base to the DJs that aren't known, and there's many that are really, really good and not discovered.
I mean, the other thing is they're the biggest specialty store in the world, yes. The biggest kind of, the biggest DJ store in the world. But they always have this phenomenon, like, deadmau5 will be discovered there, but when deadmau5 actually has a huge hit, they're not part of that success story. So do you think Beatport, you can turn Beatport into more of a overground store? In terms of the way people go and actually a proper rival to iTunes for dance music?
I would like to, but I don't want to commercialize it too much, and that's the delicate balance that has to be. I want to keep the feel that everyone has to the genre and make the experience better for everyone that goes, and hopefully we'll be able to do that over the next couple of years.
Okay. What skill set do you think you guys bring to these organizations aside from the money? What?
History. Things that only as you live through can you explain to someone. One of the big things today is the prices of DJs going through the roof. You're not going to stop that. But if you work with people early, hopefully a certain amount have loyalty, they'll play the places for you. And then as you build, whether it be a festival or a club, the experience that the DJ had, they're not going to have somewhere else, and they're going to want to play your facility. That goes for Tomorrowland, Mysteryland, Sensation. DJs want to have the interaction with their fans. They're not getting the same in Vegas or several other places that pay more, but are pretty static comparatively.
And everyone seems to have had the call from Shelly Finkel. When you approach a company, what is your approach? Is it do you flatter, seduce? It's almost like you've been turning over stones all over the world looking for stuff to buy.
I use my personality.
You're right.
No, at first last year,
because I met you were snooping around Pasha. That's
right.
How we met.
Right.
You didn't buy that one.
No.
Why?
We decided that our strategy in the overall was not for clubs. We have some clubs because they came with promoters, but I want the difference. Let me backtrack. Where everything I feel begins, it comes around again. In 1968, I went up to the Boston Garden. I met with the fellow there, and I said, I want to do a show. And he said, who do you want to bring in? I said, Jimi Hendrix. And he said, never heard of him. Do you think he'll do well? I said, I think he'll do very well. So, of course, it sold out. Same thing happened in '73. I went up to the Grand Prix racetrack, and I met with this gentleman, Henry Valent. And I said to him, how many is the most people you ever had at a race? He said, 100,000. So he said, and what do you think you'll do? I said, a lot more than that. And he said, sure, what do you want to pay me? And the lowest number I could think of was 25,000, he took it. So now, it's the week before, a week and a half before the event, and kids are coming into this town. It's only 8,000 residents, and we have 5,000, 10,000 kids camping out all over the place. And he said, how many people do you think you're going to do? I said, I think 250,000. So now it's the day before the event, the Friday. And the only way you could tell how many people are already on the property is a military helicopter flies over, takes snapshots, and they estimate how many people per acre. So we're sitting in this tent, him and I. He said, you know, we have 250,000 people here already. I think everyone's here. I said, oh, I don't think you have half the crowd. He said, why? I said, it's Friday. People haven't gotten out of work yet. I think he went into a seizure, and I didn't see him the rest of the event. And as I said earlier, it turned out 600,000 people came. Traffic was backed up 100 miles into White Lake. They shut the New York Thruway. And it was only 3 groups. It was the Allmans, the Grateful Dead, and the band. And there was a law enacted after Woodstock called the Mass Gathering Code. They changed it after me so that it would never happen again. Now, come forward to 2010, and the same way Eddie Powers didn't know who Jimi Hendrix was, a gentleman sitting next to me said, I manage Deadmau5. And I said, who's that? So he said, why don't you come with us tonight? We're going to go to Electric Daisy. And I said, boy, this is great. I'm going to a club with these guys to watch Deadmau5. And lo and behold, we go to the LA Coliseum, and there's 85,000 people there. And I meet Pasquale, and I said, Pasquale, am I the oldest person here? He says, how old are you? I said, 65. Oh, no, my parents are here. So that was my beginning of seeing what this music space is about, and the things that I feel could be added to it and helped. There's a lot of competition as opposed to people talking to each other, working with each other, doing certain things. Like the CEO of ID+T, he was out at Coachella this weekend, and him and Colette were talking about different ideas. He was amazed going to some festivals where they don't have preparation in case of rain. The last event over in Amsterdam, when he had Mysteryland, he said, you know, I just had to spend another $250,000 for slickers. So the explanation and the interchange of promoters who have the like interests has happened in the music business before, and hopefully these are some of the things that we will do to help the experience for the fan be better.
Okay. What do you think about the people that you've met operating in electronic music? Do you?
I love them. Right. I think I'm their age till I look in the mirror, actually, and I'm talking to them. And their passion, you can't buy that, you can't make that. It is just a natural thing. And then, in order...
Do you feel they're more engaged with what they're doing than, say, the rock and roll promoters back in the day? Or
at a certain point, yes. So originally, the first rock and roll promoters I liken very similarly, because they were the ones like Bill Graham in San Francisco, myself at the Village Theater, before it became organized. And for a while, I left the music business because I felt it got very corporate, where I would get a contract, no creativity. I'd give the contract to my assistant. She'd fill out the rider and send it back. It took the fun out of it. I feel that the electronic space, we've actually in our company don't use EDM as the moniker anymore. We call it EMC, which is electronic music culture, because we really believe this is a culture, not just the dance music scene.
Do you feel like, I mean, Bob was obviously involved in the creation of Live Nation. Do you feel you're in a bit of an arms race now with Live Nation in terms of buying up these different commodities? You obviously, you met Pascal, you must have looked at that deal. There's a pretty fierce competition between you and Live Nation now.
I don't think so. I'm not sure they have the same agendas as us. We're staying in this one space. We're not looking to put an act into a facility that we have if the act doesn't fit there, the DJ. And at this point, it is totally the EMC space that we're focused on, and we're not being sidetracked by anything else.
But they are, aren't they? They've set up an electronic division and they're focusing on...
They are, but you know, I don't want to be negative of my competition, but I really think we're in a different place.
Okay. So the sales pitch is different?
No, well, I don't know if it's a sales pitch. I get a lot of calls from people who want to come.
Right, that's good. You used to manage boxers,
yes.
famously.
Yes.
Many great stories about looking after Mike Tyson and Evander Hollywood. Do you think there's any examples of things that you've learned in your life working in the world of boxing that you could bring to the electronic music space, particularly your experience in Vegas, for instance?
Well, I don't know if it is the same, but...
Are we street hustlers?
No.
Have you met Don King of the dance music world yet?
No, I've met the Don King of the Don King world. Some incredible stories with him. I'll tell one that's not in the books that's been told. He told me, is everyone familiar with Thriller? I'm sorry, The Rumble in the Jungle? Okay. So about an hour before Foreman was to fight Ali, Foreman says to Don King, I'm not fighting unless I get another $250,000. Sound familiar? So
sounds like Tiesto.
Yeah.
It's Paul. Is he here?
Maybe you could use the same strategy that I'll explain
he does.
now. So Don says, okay, I'm going to go see Mobutu, who is the president of the Congo. So the president listens to Don, and he said, don't worry, he's going to fight. So Don walks back to the dressing room, and Foreman says to him, what about my $250,000? And just as Don is ready to answer, 4 soldiers march in, and they say, Mr. Foreman, our president has ordered us to execute you. He fought with no other issues. I don't know if that would work on Tiesto the same way, but...
Calvin, it might. What do you think about the... I remember being with Paul Oakenfold probably about 20 years ago in Vegas, and we saw posters of Sheena Easton and David Cassidy up at the casinos, and these were people that were, you know, dead and buried as far as we were concerned, you know, 20 years before that, but they still had a future in Vegas. And he joked with me that it'll be us one day, the DJs will be up there. And if you've been in Vegas in the last 4 or 5 years, you'll know as soon as you leave the airport, it's like Ibiza, the billboards are all about the DJs. So now, you know, after Frank Sinatra, the Boxers, the Cirque du Soleils, the Celine Dions, it does seem to be the DJs that are driving the business into the casinos. Your experience of working with casinos and people like Steve Wynn and these huge organizations, what?
Well, they are looking to bring people to the casino. That is their goal. All of the other trappings are for that reason. An interesting story, the Mohegan Sun, which is in Connecticut, the largest drop, the drop is how much they make at the tables, ever, was on a night that Cher canceled. And they didn't have a chance to tell the audience that she got sick, so 10,000 people who came to watch her hit the tables. And their goal today is to bring as many people as possible to Las Vegas And if they break even or even lose a little money at the hotel with the artist or the talent or the boxing or whatever it was, this was the thing they're looking for. I had a discussion with someone one night and said, how are they paying these kind of numbers? I can't do it. I said, you don't have the tables. You have the entrance to your club, you have food, beverage, that's where it ends. And this is it, and this is where artists go. The problem is that the artists think that the promoters outside of Vegas can pay those kind of numbers, and they can't. And also, I believe that the genre lends itself to a certain audience. Those are not the same fans that are going to sit in seats in an amphitheater or sit in seats at an arena, and they're not going to go on a Tuesday night. This is usually a Friday to Sunday experience, and that's where I would keep it with our fans.
Do you think it's here to stay? Do you think Vegas will have patience with the electronic scene? Do you think it's more than a kind of flash in the pan?
Oh, I am sure it's more than a flash in the pan. And I'm not as concerned about Vegas because we're trying to create brands that people go to and know they're going to have a great experience. And it's not just on the name of the DJ, although we will always bring the top ones there, but it's not based on that alone. And when someone spends 10, 12 hours at your place, I want them to leave there saying, this was a great time, I enjoyed it, I had a great experience with my friends. Something interesting, up in our office we have a very large photo from Mysteryland. And if you look at the crowd, I'd say 60% are not even watching the stage. They're talking to their friends, they're dancing, they're doing a lot of other things, and that hopefully is what this genre will be.
Do you, crowded space coming into America with obviously, you know, with ID+T, with Live Nation so established, with the Insomniac so established. How do you feel about that? You've announced the first Tomorrow World, right?
Right.
Which is going to be in Atlanta.
Yes.
At the end of the year.
Right.
Have you? What's the strategy in terms of the way you're going to roll these festivals out and deal with the competition and deal with the fact that, you know, the DJs are going to be forced into having a choice?
Well, hopefully, I'm not going to...
I think it'd be fair to say, I think ID+T have had a great... I mean, well, Pascal said it as well at his event last year, that obviously very conscious about making the festival the star first and foremost, right. Which if you play at Tomorrowland, it definitely is. So...
Well, the brands that we have acquired are, and the promoters, are in strategic markets. I'm not looking to go into every state in the US because I don't think it can support it. I'm not looking to do 100 festivals. We're going to have a handful of the best and improve upon them every year. It's interesting, I was speaking to McKeel, who is one of the founders of Tomorrowland, and he said to me, when I walk through the place, you look at it as, wow, look at all this great stuff. I look at it as, how can I improve it? And with that kind of attitude, hopefully every year it'll get better and better, and something that everyone will look forward to. Because at this point, we can't meet the demand. And at this point, we're only looking to do one Tomorrowland per continent.
And what about Sensation?
Sensation is more of an arena show. And we're looking this year to do 5 in the US, 1 in Canada, and maybe 1 in Mexico.
Okay. And does the shopping go on? Are you still looking? You still got money to spend?
Yes. I guess if we call it.
What are you looking to buy?
What's Ministry of Sound doing?
That's good.
I want anyone who is interested, wants to work with other people, wants to grow what they have, and see that what we're building is something that they can contribute to and that we can contribute to in reverse. And hopefully, as time goes on and the years go on, people will come to our events and say, these are the best events in the world.
Okay. I think just conscious of time now, maybe.
No.
Yeah.
Hi, So, questions, anybody? You.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So when you talk about these companies you're interested in purchasing, are you more concerned with the quality of the company, or are you more concerned with how far along they are in terms of their numbers and people that are involved? Or like if a company is really interesting to you, I'm guessing is there like a place they have to be in order to be interesting for acquisition, or are you more interested in the companies, you know, as creatives?
I'll speak to anyone. You never know who's the next star. I've always believed that. I managed bands that early on record labels passed on and then later became superstars. So it would be someone that I think could fit well with us and that we could help and they could help us.
Would you get into buying management companies?
We're talking to a few.
Right.
We're talking to a few.
Hi, Shelly.
Yes.
Hi, John from True Love Music.
Hi.
It's great, obviously, what's happening in Vegas, but I've recently found out that the clubs there are charged for music use at, or they're not charged because they're on hotel tariff. What do you think about that? What's the history of that, and what can be done to change it?
I don't know anything about what Vegas does.
Okay.
I have no...
BMI and ASCAP are not able to collect for music creators, so while the DJs are getting incredible fees there, the people that create the music are actually not getting anything at all, apparently.
I am unaware of that. I have nothing to do with the Vegas facilities.
No, of course not, but as somebody with some influence and power, would you be able to help us change that culture?
I would be in favor of it.
Great.
Running over to the other side. I get to do Jerry Springer now.
Good morning, Shelly, Pete. How are you?
Good morning.
Shelly, my question to you is, with all the acquisitions you're purchasing, I really enjoyed hearing your acronym of electronic music culture. And would you guys be interested in possibly looking into producing a movie that doesn't just look at this great movement as another party-goer movie, but explains to the outside press and to the outside world what this culture is all about?
I would be glad to look at it. ID+T has just done one also, and I'm not sure where they're going with it, but they just produced a documentary also.
Sure, I was speaking a little bit more of like a Hollywood feature film, sort of not what DJ Diplo just announced with Fox Pictures, but something more where we look at the passion and the journey it takes to become a producer, a DJ, somebody who makes music that I think a lot of us in this room have probably had the conversion experience at a club or have gone to Ibiza and have felt the magic of that island. Something that combines those elements and really paints a proper picture of the scene.
I'm open to discussing it.
Okay, great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Over here.
Hi, Shelly.
Hi.
Question about your actual deals that you're making with the various promoters. Is it very similar to the same model that Silverman did before with the exit strategies?
Each one is a bit unique. Some are looking to sell all of their company. Some are in a very young stage, and we purchase a part, and then we give a chance at a multiple to buy the remaining share as we help grow the company and they grow.
I have one more question about your acquisition in Beatport. How do you see that going into the live world as well? Do you see doing festivals, Beatport festivals? With the power of Beatport, there are so many different areas you can expand into. Have you had conversations? I realize that it took over a year to put the technology together, but there are so many possibilities, and I'm just curious what some of the things you can share with us.
Actually, Matt will be speaking in a little while, and he could address a lot of that for you.
Fantastic. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else over here? Anyone concerned about the consolidation? Anybody want to talk about that? Where? Over there, of course. Sneaking by. Sorry. Okay.
Hi, this is Kun Shah from Live for Live Music. You say you used to do, at Watkins Glen, you did the Allman Brothers, Grateful Dead, and the band.
Correct.
Do you find that that genre now, the jam genre, is dead these days in terms of...
No, but that's not the era I focus, but I don't think it's dead, and I think shows like the one down in Alabama, it's drawing 40,000 people.
Hangout Festival.
Hangout. And there are other places that this kind of music is continuing. The United States is a very, very large country and has room for a lot of genres to grow, whether it be hip hop, country, rock, and they all have their followings and they all have done very well.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So with your acquisition of Beatport, you must know quite a bit about the social media and how artists are relevant through social media. When you're choosing to book talent, do you do that solely based on, oh, I like him, or do you do it based on social media data and patterns and stuff like that?
It's a combination. There are certain name artists you know have a following, so you're going to want to put them. I feel it's very important to pick artists that are unknown and give them the opportunity to be in front of a large audience. And then there's the in-between that are known, but not at the highest level.
Over here.
There's a lot of talk about the EDM bubble bursting, which I don't personally think it's going to. But what things would contribute, in your mind, to hitting a ceiling with the industry as a whole?
Oh, there's probably a lot of things, but I don't think they're there. One is just doing things for the sake of doing them. People will come in who have no idea of what a promoter is, and they'll say to an artist, oh, I don't want to name it, but a top artist, and go into an arena because they saw Swedish House Mafia sell out at the Garden. And then as people start getting hurt, they start drifting out, and you see some of the bubble happen. I don't think that's here, and I think it's a very different day and age where people are going, and every year you see if an experience is done well and the kids have a good time, the following year they tell one or two of their friends, and where the first year it may have 8,000, the second year it's 20, it's 30, and it's also to try and not be greedy, to put a number, this is the number, no more tickets are to be sold, because above that the crowd won't be comfortable.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, back here, anybody? In the back of the room.
How about in the front? He's been a long
where?
time.
Who's this?
This gentleman.
This gentleman. It's right here.
My name is Edwin Rivera, and I have a personal question. When did you first experience EDC, and what was your first emotional experience when you first heard that sound?
It was 2010, as I said earlier. It was at the LA Coliseum on the Friday night, and I was amazed by it. And standing in the audience and just feeling everything coming up from in the ground and from all the fans was just amazing.
Okay, final question? Anybody?
There's one at the back now.
One in the back now, in the back.
There's one here.
Where? Girl, where? There's a girl. It's a girl. Let's ask a girl.
Thank you. Hi, Shelly.
Hi.
And Pete. I'm Janine with the Electronic Music Alliance, and so we're very concerned about environmentalism and activating our community members for social good. So I just wanted to know if you had any plans for the festivals in integrative experiences, for philanthropy, or like what your plans were for greening.
I don't have specifics. I'd like to meet with you about it. I know that ID+T at a lot of their events, they contribute tickets in exchange for people working 10,000 hours during the year in community, helping the environment. One of their biggest concerns is water and what's happening and how to get it to more people. And they've been doing a lot of things in that area, and I can get you specifics.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And then the one in the back. Where was it? Hand again? Over there.
Hi, my name's Suzanne Brantner. Is there a plan to integrate the companies across each other so that Beatport is helping Tomorrow World and vice versa within all the companies?
Well, in some areas, but more so in the live area, where if we bring a sensation over, for instance, and we're doing, I think, 4 cities, we're working with one company now, but eventually the promoters that we're working with or have acquired will be the local promoters to help build those brands in those markets.
Thank you.
Is that the idea with working with Liv and Disco Donny and Life in Colour and ID+T, that you'll actually, they will be getting in a room together on a regular basis?
Yes. As a matter of fact, Donny is bringing Q-Dance to probably a dozen cities in the US on a smaller level, and then eventually, hopefully, they'll go to the next size and build a festival or 2 in the United States with DEF CON.
Do you think there'll be consolidation in the management of those companies at the top end, or some
No.
cost savings, or do you just leave them alone? Or?
Leave them alone, because the local promoter knows more locally than we ever will, and they have their own database and they have their own contact with the fans of that area. And one of the things,
if ID+T wants to come do something in Florida or Miami specifically, you would involve
the databases of Liv. The thing that made me, I think, the top manager in boxing was I knew I wasn't the trainer. And it's important to know what you don't know. And David Geffen said it very well. As he got older, he hired the right people, and he was glad, because he never would have signed Guns N' Roses. And I know what I don't know, so I'm not going to interfere with the things that are successful.
Yeah, we have one last one back here.
Hi, Zell McCarthy from Billboard. Shelly, you're someone who's taken a lot of big risks in your career, and a lot of them have paid off. What would you say to people in this room who are maybe a little risk adverse or looking to make a big move and hopefully get the kind of payoff that you've had?
Well, I think that you see the great successes I've had, you haven't seen the great failures. And I think part of being successful is learning from your mistakes, learning when I got rained out on a show by 2/100ths of an inch, and certain other things that happen. But most important thing I would say to anyone in this room is, if you can, do something you love. As you do things you love, it'll grow. I don't look at 10 days from now, I look at tomorrow, and what is tomorrow going to do, and what can I make today that'll make tomorrow better for me and for the people around me.
Great place to end it, Shelly. Thanks very much. Thanks, Pete.